Hi, my name is Aaron and this is my show, Reeducation, and today I'm going to talk about sex work praxis. Now, after my last video that was involving sex work, I got a couple of messages from a few good friends of mine, and they expressed concern that my video was a little bit lacking when it comes to actually helping people in the industry to be able to get out of it if they needed to, or get from it what they need to, because like I said in that video, we should treat it like a regular industry. So one of my friends who is an ex-sex worker came to me with 6 great ways that they have actually used in the past to be able to accomplish these exact goals. And I'm going to go through them with you today. So number 1, basically the biggest thing that sex workers are missing is social capital. Being able to interact with one another, engaging with other sex workers. And that's a major problem. That's basically a problem with everybody in this system currently, is that we are isolated from one another. And as I've said in the past, this is not a bug, this is a feature. We are meant to be isolated from one another, especially in our industry, so we don't do crazy things like try to unionize. So it's important for us to be able to overcome that social stigma and for sex workers to be able to get together with one another and actually be able to network. Now, this comes with the caveat of hopefully they don't end up networking with a bunch of other people that are doing a lot of drugs, and that's why they're in the industry. Now, of course, you're going to have the people that are doing drugs being able to network as well and getting the help that they need, but it's important to foster a community of support and not one of enabling, specifically when it comes to doing hard drugs. Now, I'm saying that with the caveat, obviously, we need to, in that supportive community, help out the people that are addicted to hard drugs in getting help and finding support for themselves. And in this community of support, you also want to have financial advisors, because there is nothing more damaging than not knowing how to manage your money. And when you're an independent business worker, then managing your money becomes something that is solely responsible, that's solely left on your head, and you need to have the information to be able to do that properly and to make sure that you're making the right investments. So having the ability to contact people that know about financial advisement is certainly essential, but the unfortunate fact is that this is an illegal industry in a lot of places still, and you have to make sure that those people are on the level and they aren't trying to steal from you. Now, number 2 is a sex worker always risks being stuck in the industry. You see, it starts off being voluntarily, and that's fucking dope, but it's only voluntary until it's not. And when it's not, that's when major problems start to happen. Now, an important thing is to be able to find opportunities and careers that these people can move on into that are not involved in the sex work industry if they so choose. And one of those careers that my friend told me about was pharmaceutical representative or computer programmer. And I would go further than that, and I would say getting a job in sales would actually not necessarily be the worst thing either, because what you are basically doing is selling. But this really comes down to the individual. This is something that the community has to look at on an individual basis and try to help that person with, dependent on their specific skills and their specific needs. Not every ex-prostitute is going to be able to have great programming skills, just like every ex-programmer isn't going to be great at fucking. It's just, they might not be overlapping, some might be, but we're going to have to take a look at that on an individual basis. But it's an important thing to realize that when you're stuck in that industry, you need to have the support to be able to get out and to be able to find another industry to move into that is going to be beneficial. Now, number 3 can be a bit pricey if you don't have somebody with current knowledge in the field, and that is to find somebody that has legal information on how you can do your job as legally as possible. Now, not everybody is friends with a lawyer. Not everybody knows somebody else that can give them legal advice. But that is why it's so important that we work together and try to form a community for these people to get those resources that are so desperately needed. And this doesn't have to necessarily be a community in the physical sense. This can be a broader community incorporating the online sphere and so on. We need to have those resources for these people so they can actually be able to do this job safely, as legally as possible, and in a way that is not damaging but is actually helpful to them. All of these things are incredibly important and extremely necessary. So, finding someone that can give you legal advice is very important. Number 4 is what I was just basically touching on a second ago. You need to boost online resources from sex workers and for sex workers so we can actually build this community. It's so important to have the online propaganda sphere part of the actual community that we are involving ourselves in, because in our modern day society, the physical space is very important, but the digital space can be just as important. They both influence one another, and having a strong online community will help foster a strong real-life community. Number 5 is humanitarian. You have to try to make sure that these people's mental state is not completely destroyed, because this industry, because of its illegal nature, suffers from all of the same problems that any other illegal industry suffers from and more. People can be murdered, people can be abused, and yeah, people can be raped and have incredible mental trauma happen to them. And that is a danger, a part of this job at the current way that it, in the current form that it's structured. These are problems that you have to worry about. So making sure that you have that system, that structure, that community in place where you can actually help these people and try to aid them in any way that you possibly can by reducing all of these mental strains and all of these pressures. All of that is very important. And if you can get somebody with a medical background or a psychology background involved in the community who can offer their services to these people, that is even better. That can actually help in a major way, because all the talking and chit-chat that friends can have with each other isn't going to do a whole lot of good until you have somebody in there that is, you know, an actual trained professional who has dealt with these kind of situations their entire lives and built a career on it. These are the kinds of people that need to remove the stigma of the sex work industry being this dirty, terrible thing. They need to remove that stigma, and they need to actually help these people out as much as they can, because that is the humanitarian thing to do. They have to make sure that these people are being pushed to not do drugs, but to seek real help. And that is fundamentally the most important thing when it comes to trying to rehabilitate somebody that has fallen down that path. And number 6, this is very important too, is that you have to make sure as an individual, as an independent business owner, as a sex worker, that you are choosing clients that pose as little danger as humanly possible without making you financially dependent on them. That is hard to do sometimes, because the pool of people that you have to choose from as clients sometimes is out of your control. Not 100% out of your control. Of course, you get to choose who and what you do with your body, but sometimes you're in a small area where you don't get a lot of choice, and that can be difficult. So it's important to foster the idea that you choose the clients that are going to be non-abusive and that you don't have to be financially dependent upon. So that is sex worker praxis. I think that every one of those 6 steps is incredibly essential, and I hope that this information has helped anybody that is out there. And if you have any more information that you might think would be helpful, please leave it in the comment section below. And hopefully we'll be able to build an actual strong community and work towards helping these people out. My name is Aaron. This is my show, Reeducation, and thanks for watching.